Come dream with us.
Come smile with us.
Come bring up your breakfast with us on the Kingsgrove Sports Centre Podcast. Right, welcome to the Kingsgrove Sports Centre, our fourth podcast. We've got plenty to talk about. There's been plenty happening, particularly in the cricket world. We are going to review the review. Or, I tell you what, I don't know. I think I'm past the review. I think I'm over it, to be truthful. But we got plenty to go through. There were 42 points, 140 pages. We spoke to a guy yesterday about getting through all the stuff. I don't know. Is it
detail.
too much? Is it the detail? Is there just too much detail?
There's a lot in it. I think mainly for everybody, it's basically that nobody likes us. We're a bit mean, and we need to get it. We need to get a bit better.
Yeah.
At that, possibly.
Well, I thought we would just try and find and pick out some of the main points, some of the main talking points to come out of it. For me, here's what I got. Yes, we're very nice.
Who are you, man?
Oh, yeah. The intro. I wanted to get into it, didn't I?
You did want to get. That's all right.
So, okay, yeah, let's do an intro. This is Stuart Ailey on my right.
Morning, Hamish.
Georges River club legend, second grade captain. On my left, Steve Green, bowling guru, coach at Eastern Suburbs, 7,460 wickets for
That's not a
first
real
grade.
stat. Is that a real stat?
Sounds good to me.
I think that people get my message. Come on, Steve. How many wickets?
712.
712 grade wickets.
Yes.
Unbelievable. And my name is Hamish Solomons, and I'm just a bloke who does cricket. So anyway, let's get back into
But
this.
hang on, but before you really jump into it, also don't forget the producer Nick in
over
the
here
corner
making things
that
run.
You'll
On the
hear
pots
from
and
Tom.
pans.
That you'll hear
He
from
loves
Tom.
it.
Specifically put in the notes, please don't forget to mention that I'm over here.
It gets lonely in the
Come off to
corner.
a fly. Yes,
Yeah,
it does.
Anyway,
That's
He's
okay.
not in the
We don't-
corner because he's naughty. That's,
no.
Thank you
Yeah,
for that
that's right.
introduction. Well done.
We don't want to distract you.
Oh yeah,
You've got plenty of knobs to
I am
push,
tinkering.
including these three knobs here. Right, okay.
What did you learn, Hamish?
I learnt that we're nasty, we're mean, starts from the top. We're playing too hard, but we're too soft. Does that make sense?
So we're hard on the outside, soft in the middle. Is that what you're saying?
Did we not know that already? Why did we have to have a review? Is it justifying jobs?
Well,
Oh,
one of the things that come out of this is that we're having a few people change jobs or losing their jobs.
Yeah.
Obviously, Sutherland, I think he dodged a bullet here. He saw the writing on the wall. He went.
Yep.
Peaver, he's now
Finally realised that
fallen on his sword,
that he should have gone earlier.
and he's gone. Darren Lehman, I guess you could say, was a casualty.
Yep.
Out of all of this, particularly the ball tampering scandal. So there was another change, and I suppose it leaves Pat Howard, the last man standing.
Well, he's
so to
going.
speak.
He's going. Apparently, he's going.
Well, he's going
next year, but
he's going, but is he going to go earlier?
Well, there's talk that he should go
And
earlier.
then I suppose one of the good things to come out of this is that we have a fresh start potentially. And we know we've got Kevin Roberts, I think a great man to take over Sutherland's role. So he's in the job, but he's got some work to do, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, when he's going to earn every cent of what he's getting paid.
Yeah.
But
But
things like these reviews, are they just to appease the great unwashed? It's harder now because you've got all the keyboard warriors on Twitter or in social media
Aren't they just going nuts at the moment?
giving their 2 cents worth. But 10 or 20 years ago, when social media wasn't around, these blokes could just sit at a pub and that's where it'd stay. Those comments, why do we have to appease these people that probably watch cricket once or twice a year?
Yep.
And all of a sudden they're experts on it.
But
It's
something needed to be done.
I agree, but to go to all this drama and even the way they handled the 3 guys suspended.
Yep.
It was just over the top, just to make sure everyone's happy that might not even watch the game.
Yeah,
Just a
sells newspapers.
The do-gooders.
Sells newspapers, made the media happier. Made everybody else feel a little bit better about themselves, possibly. But obviously, I think there obviously needed to be some changes. Mm-hmm. Whether it needed to be such a sort of extensive review, but I think in the greater cricket public, especially people that are sort of more involved in the game, there probably was a feeling that maybe Cricket Australia was a bit too up upon high and in their own bubble and sort of dictating to the masses rather than sort of understanding possibly what the problems were or what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Not that, and I don't think this review actually goes into those sort of issues. This is more about the culture of the place and maybe being a nicer workplace essentially.
Yeah.
Rather than maybe fixing the greater cricket issues.
Mm.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I think we've already brought up about we're not nice. But I tell you what, every other team is doing the exact same thing, but they're just doing it better because they're not being recognised by media. You can't tell me other teams aren't sledging or aren't getting under the opposition's skin, but we've never been good at it because it is in your face and right over the stump mics. Do it at the end of the over when you're walking past, when they're standing in the middle of the wicket where no one can hear you.
We're very obvious about it. We do it up front, and then so it leaves us in a position where we sort of can't complain about it
obvious.
because we.
Unfortunately, we're a little bit too obvious with our ball tampering.
Well, that's a separate issue. But we're obviously very upfront about it. That's why we play our cricket. We play, it's like we play hard. We play hard but fair.
Yep.
Apparently there's always that talk of headbutting the line but not going over it. But it depends. I mean, where's that line? Because each individual is different. So you might say one thing I might say something to you, Hamish, and you think it's funny, but then I say something to Stephen and he takes it, the completely wrong way. So we probably maybe need to look at the way we play our cricket slightly. But
if Cape Town hadn't have happened, would there have been a review?
No.
So can we say this whole review and the fact that some people who were running the place are now no longer running the place, born out of the act of a couple of situations that arose in South Africa? It's amazing the effect that has happened and the changes now for better or for worse. But I also wonder, would similar things happen? Because everyone's ganging up on Australia at the moment.
Yeah.
I wonder whether if similar reviews were held in India, Sri Lanka, would similar things be found? Surely.
Possibly. You'd like to possibly think so.
Yeah.
Our cricket board is fairly, there's usually not too much issues with it. There's not too much talk about it really, and only when you get to this sort of situation where I say in Sri Lanka the board changes all the time because it's run by the government and people are in and out all the time.
Yep.
India can be a little bit unstable because it's also a little bit political.
Yep.
But most other boards run fairly well. It's only when an issue is found that obviously then it comes to light and things change.
Now, is it also a situation where we're obviously guilty of playing to win at all costs?
Yeah.
But if we don't play to win at virtually all costs, we're not going to be happy anyway, are we?
No, you're always happier winning than losing, aren't you? But I don't know. It's just this review. It just annoys me. It's just we've cut down a few trees for nothing, I reckon. Very reactive.
Yep.
Instead of proactive. Waiting for something to explode like it did in Cape Town, and then do something. Surely someone in there at Cricket Australia could see what was going on. And there obviously is a big disconnect between the board of CA and the playing group. Why?
Well, we've seen that obviously through the MOU negotiations where they were polar opposites, weren't they? It was really, it was the board against the players, and maybe, obviously that may have something to do with it. Obviously, it was all building up to something. There was going to be something was going to go on, not necessarily having to be ball tampering. It could have been whatever, but you could see that the board and the players weren't getting on, and the players did seem to be a little bit more aggressive towards oppositions and just in their attitude in general. So something must have been going wrong, and obviously it's probably difficult in the team to recognise that. I don't know if that's Pat Howard's job to be, he runs the high performance unit, to have a look. He's sort of outside of that bubble and have a look in and see that there might be an issue going on and try and stop that before it happens. But if there's if the players and the board aren't getting on, any sort of board interaction or intervention, might have again been seen by the players as a slight and not worked.
So you're saying, Steve, now we're getting a whole load of reactions out of this. One of them being this new players pact. What are our thoughts there, guys?
Oh, it's you can have all the slogans you want. You've got to believe in them.
Yeah.
Half the slogans that are put out are just absolute rubbish. I don't care. Just get out and play cricket.
You got to. I mean, Shane Warne was probably very strong on his opinions last night, in particular, when obviously the new sign in the dressing room, elite honesty, was shown, and I think we've all come to the conclusion that it's just got to be about getting out there now and playing hard, playing fairly.
It's pretty simple. It's like, don't cheat. That's all. I mean, that's all it is. You want to win, obviously. You want to, but you want to play fair. You don't want to abuse opposition. You may critique his technique every now and again, but
you just got to focus on our own performance.
Well, we've got to do that. We've got to do that.
Don't worry about what the opposition are doing.
No,
get our job right, and the results will happen.
Well, at the moment, I can tell you there's a big issue with our batting.
Massive.
We've got a hell of a lot of losses to our name at the moment. It's un-Australian, I guess you'd say. We're not used to that, and this is part of the reason why at the moment we're so discontent. Now, I've got some interesting statistics here from Sheffield Shield, some batting averages from some of the players. This sort of covers a broad range of the players at the moment, from season 2016-17 to round one of this Sheffield Shield season. Guys like Labuschagne averaging 38, Renshaw 45, Ferguson 34, Finch 43, Burns 44, to name a few. Ed Cowan, who's now obviously retired, former Australian player, was the highest at 56. Now we compare that to 20 years ago, season 96-97 to round one of season 98-99. And you had guys like Ponting averaging 81, Langer 76, Moody 60, Lehman 52, guys that weren't sort of even in the Australian setup at that stage. Jamie Cox 52, Mike Hussey 47. Paints a picture, doesn't it?
Well, the Shield competition now, is it a byproduct of what selectors are trying to get out of them for the future? We're just going to pick 18 or 19-year-olds that just have shown nothing in grade cricket, and they're in the system. So they need to be playing. They're in the pathway system. So I mean, this probably brings up the thing about pathway system. I mean, if you look at it now, like there's that much coaching going on.
Yep.
All these guys are identified early. They've been in the pathway program since 14, 15, 16, 17. They go through, play all the underage competitions. But they don't seem to get. We're not producing those guys that go in and make big runs and get any better. So, is that because the coaching's no good? Is that because they continue to just play sort of their same age groups constantly, and then if they come up against someone slightly different, they can't do it?
I think there's one major point here, is that these guys weren't playing T20.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
All right. Now, I think personally, we're a little bit confused at the moment.
Are we not? Yeah, are they not learning how to? Are they not learning the basics properly enough to have a solid technique and solid, be a good batsman first, and then be a T20 cricketer? Well, I mean, if you look at most of the good T20 cricketers around, you've got Joe Root's a good T20 cricketer, Virat Kohli's a good T20 cricketer.
Yep.
You don't have to be a Chris Lynn or a Chris Gale. But even looking at Chris Gale, I mean, Chris Gale has scored a 300 in Test match cricket.
Yep.
He scored double centuries in Test match cricket. So he can also, but again, he comes from a different generation where he would have been playing first class cricket, and 50 over cricket was the shortest form of the game.
Exactly.
So is it just that these guys?
You know, I just personally think we're far too confused as batters, and there's probably too much focus on the shorter form. It's a case for me of, you know, these guys have got to learn to walk a little bit more before they run.
Yeah.
I mean, just two things. The pathway, it's a very good system, the pathway system.
Yep.
Used correctly. Don't, just because these guys have played pathways and a guy from outside the system hasn't, but he's scored a hell of a lot of runs, pick him. Don't be scared not to, you know, just because you're in the pathway doesn't mean you're going to go all the way. It's this guy outside might have done the hard yards, he's got through. Just because he didn't get in the pathway system at 14, 15 doesn't mean he's not good enough to play. And he's probably actually tougher than the guys in the pathway system. The second point, you have a look at those batsmen in the second group, Ponting, Langer, etc. Concentration spans, I reckon it's massive. Back in then, they would bat hours and hours.
Yeah.
These guys these days, I think it's a social whole thing. Like it's not just cricket, you know. Our concentration spans have lessened. It's just we want everything now.
Yeah.
You know, it's the now.
You can't wait. You want things in short bursts.
Yeah. You know, as a bowler, I'd love to be bowling these days because you could see batsmen, if you tie them down for half a dozen, 10 balls, they want to play a rash shot. They've got to do something. Not, okay, I'm going to wait for this bloke to bowl these 5 or 6 overs. He'll be out of the attack, and then we'll get a lesser bowler on. It is, I've got to get rid of this bloke.
I've got to get on top. I've got to dominate this bloke. I've got to show him. I've got to hit him for 4. I've got to do something rather than just go. He's bowling well. I'll see him off.
Yeah.
Move on. No, I've got to dominate. I've got to get on top of him. And some of that may come down to. It comes down to the T20 cricket. It comes down to the coaching. I think sometimes the coaching message gets a bit confusing because on one hand it's like, you know, be attacking, you know, dominate the game, you know, but then it's, you know, you've got to wait for the right ball, you've got to watch the right ball, you've got to play to the situation. So I think, that's where sometimes batters can get a bit confused.
Are some of these players overcoached?
Well, I reckon they probably could, but sometimes you get too much information coming in, and you know you just got to go back to the simple thing of see ball, hit ball.
Yeah, you look at guys like Gilchrist, Hayden, the War brothers. A lot of their skills were probably born out of having older brothers or brothers playing a lot of backyard cricket. Is there a situation now where there's simply not enough of that going on for kids growing up in a city like Sydney?
Yep.
Is that part of the problem?
That could be it. Yeah. You know, you live in a high rise, you live in an apartment, you live in a townhouse.
Yeah,
you live in a house that's got you've got a block, but you're in a house, and the house takes up the whole block, so you haven't got a backyard.
Simple situation is most of my after school hours are spent playing backyard cricket or front yard cricket with my mates. I didn't have any brothers, but I had some good friends that lived locally, and we played a lot of cricket. I don't see kids doing any of that really these days. I've got kids of my own, and they're not really interested in cricket, but there wouldn't be that going on because A, they're rushing around to other things all the time, so they don't have much time, and B, they're connected to their devices. So I think this is, you know, part of the problem of Australian cricket, and it's going to probably get worse unless we fix some of the other issues up at a higher level, and we start picking players, I guess, for runs on the board as opposed to potential runs on the board.
Yeah. Is it just a case of that a run might have come to an end?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. You know, every now and then you've got to recycle ourselves, but we've had that period where we were virtually unbeatable for so long Since then, we had a period where we sort of fluctuated between being up towards the top of the rankings, then dropping down at the moment.
Well, we're sliding a little bit.
It's a bit of a downward spiral.
We don't want it to end up like the West Indies, who are struggling, in Test cricket and struggling for the talent. We don't want it to get that bad, and hopefully it doesn't, because we've got these things in place, the pathways and stuff. So you think we won't drop that far down, but it could just be a case of you can't sort of dominate for 30, 40, 50 years. You've got to drop sometime.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just we're not, we'll be hopefully a good team and have good results, but we may not be the dominant force as we were for a little while.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I think let's just hope. Let's just hope we start to see. And look, they're up against it. There'll be a lot of pressure on these current players, and I think it's showing at the moment. Let's just hope over time it starts to resolve itself. But I tell you what, it's going to be a baptism of fire for a lot of these players, because we're playing a pretty strong and confident Indian team who don't traditionally do great in Australia on Australian wickets, but I think this will make it an intriguing series. Now, with that, and out of, I guess, the review came the question, should now these bans be lifted, and Bancroft, Warner and Smith, should they be allowed to play? Thoughts, boys?
Oh, how many months into it are we?
We're about halfway there, I think, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. They'll be back in March, April or something,
I think what we're saying is that, the old Cricket Australia, which is now changing, thanks to the review, is now gone. They made that decision. It was too harsh. It wasn't in accordance of standards by other cricketing nations and the ICC. The ICC gave their punishment, and we gave them a separate punishment to Australian standards, I think. Now that things have changed, should their bans be changed? Stu?
I don't think so. It's a tough one. I mean, you'd like to have them back in because they're world-class players, and
you'd like to have them back in for this Indian series.
Yeah, it'd obviously make the team a lot stronger. But I mean, if you put the ban in place, yes, whether or not you thought it was harsh, there wasn't the players could have appealed, and they chose not to. They've essentially not really lost any. They've only missed one international series. They've been able to go overseas and play in T20 in T20 competitions. So they've essentially been able to go and earn a living.
Yep.
What you'd say. So they're only really now going to lose the ability to play international cricket. They'll miss the home summer.
Yep.
Perhaps there's the argument that maybe they could play domestic cricket because that will boost that competition. That will help out the players that are playing with and against. Kevin Roberts was interviewed yesterday on radio, and he sort of said, look, that's probably not going to happen, but because they have the ability to train with their state teams, that there's a benefit to the particular state teams, which essentially just means New South Wales, really, because Warner and Smith are from New South Wales, so they get the benefit from that.
Yes.
Western Australia got a little bit, obviously, from Bancroft, but he's probably not as experienced as those other two, so they may not get as much. Whereas if they were playing Shield cricket and Tasmania were playing New South Wales like they're doing today, and you had Warner and Smith in the lineup, then obviously those Tasmanian bowlers would get the opportunity to bowl to two world class players.
Yep. Yeah, I think they shouldn't be lifted. I think they've copped them and they've moved on. And they're getting on with things, and they're allowed to, like we said, they're allowed to play. And I think most importantly, guys like Warner and Smith, from a Sydney point of view, have been playing grade cricket, and that has been fantastic. They're drawing crowds to grade matches. Like Steve Smith, coming out of yesterday's Kingsgrove Sports Centre T20 Cup game, apparently signed hundreds of autographs and took hundreds of photos with something like 2,000 people that came and went to Manly Oval to see that particular game, and did a fantastic job. And that was just after he got out. So I think from that respect, they've done some pretty good things to repair the damage that was done.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be a bit embarrassing for Australia to go back.
Yeah.
On the punishment. So I think
it's always saying, look, we're struggling.
Let's just move on. They're still doing other things, and they'll come back probably quite fresh for having had that time away from international cricket.
True. Yeah. It could be a good thing because obviously those two guys were always fairly heavily scrutinised. A lot of pressure was on those two guys. So bit of time out from the spotlight might actually help them a bit.
But they're still copying it, and that's what really annoys me. We had it on our Facebook page on the weekend when you're advertising the Sunday squads here, and we've got Steve Smith on our flyer, and he comes up with, I wouldn't want to be Australian to be taught by a cheat. And it's like, well, what's wrong with people?
Well, that's what you're talking about before with those keyboard warriors. Whereas before that would just be some idiot down the pub. Now he gets to put it out in the public forum.
Keep in mind, if you grew up following cricket through the 90s and early zeros or noughties, you got used to Australian walloping your team for a long time there, and I guess for a lot of people, and that guy who made those comments on our Facebook post was an older guy. And I think some of them are just exacting a little bit of revenge for years of disappointment. It is disappointing because I think we're all happy to move away and move on from the sandpaper thing.
Yeah.
And to be truthful, I'm happy now to move on from the review and get on to other topics.
Good call. Probably,
given the outcome of the series against Pakistan, probably not going to be the conversation we wanted to have, but we've got to have it. Like I said, can't change things at this stage, but we look forward to the future. Hopefully we'll learn some things out of this series in Pakistan. Two test match series.
Yep.
An amazing draw, if that's even such a thing, but it was in the first test, and obviously disappointment in the second test. I'd like to discuss positives and negatives. Positives, boys.
I got one.
Yep.
It was only 2 tests.
True.
We didn't have to sit through 3 or 5. So it's chalk that down.
That's one positive. Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of 2 test series. I think they what do they achieve? Like, what you want to play 4 or 5 test matches. Because
even 3, you finish 1-1.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah. Now,
well, you got to get the limited over stuff in. You got to fit that in. That's why. So, so if we look at real positives, you've obviously got Usman Khawaja.
Yep.
The second innings of that first test, fantastic 100, and then Nathan Lyon basically through the whole thing.
Yep. And what we saw was some fantastic fighting spirit coming out.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, in regards to playing 2 test series, we want our players to be better at playing in the subcontinent. How are they going to learn to ply their trade on those sort of wickets if they're in and out in 2 tests? Learn from some of your mistakes from the first couple of games, and hopefully you potentially get better come a 3rd or 4th test. I think we need to look at the schedule of these things. And Pakistan have proven to be a great opponent in that respect. They beat us.
Yeah.
I think the days of, us dominating and only wanting to play some of the lesser test playing nations for a couple of tests and gone, I think it's now time we look at a situation where we at least play 3 tests.
Be nice. I think they'll be 2 for a while. What do you think the negatives were?
The negatives, obviously, that fighting spirit that came out of the first test was not prevalent in the second. I thought the spin bowling situation, aside from Lyon, Labuschagne came to the fore, but he wasn't meant to be our backup spinner, our second spinner. So I suppose that's a bit of an issue. I would really like to see a proper leg spinner in there in the subcontinent.
Yeah.
Someone like even Zampa.
Zampa.
I think he's been pigeonholed as a short form cricketer, but if he's a leg spinner,
Yeah.
should be able to ply his trade on those sort of wickets for overs after overs, bowling in tandem with Lyon. But unfortunately,
why not give him a go? It's not like we're not giving test caps to
Anybody.
any batsman that scores 50 once.
Yep.
But if we're not worried about giving away test numbers, take a punt.
Yep.
They got to find something.
I mean, you got Warning went for one for 201 or something in his first test.
Yeah.
So it's not like he was not taking bagfuls and got picked. So
Yep.
Zampa could be the same thing. He might, the first test mightn't be that great, but he could. I mean, he'll take wickets.
Yeah. Other negatives, just still mentioned before, the deficiencies playing in the subcontinent.
Well,
whether the deficiencies in the subcontinent or just the deficiencies.
Oh, I think they're just deficiencies. It's the fact that we lose one wicket, we lose a bunch. It's not like we lose one and then we build another partnership. It's like we lose 3 and 4 in a group and just push you straight under pressure.
Steve, did you note just even in Australian dismissals yesterday in the game against South Africa? Just simple technical things. I know you're playing short form cricket and you tend to be more attacking, but surely technique still comes to the fore when you're batting against two of the best and fastest bowlers in the world with a new ball.
Yeah,
just get your elbow up, play a little straighter.
Yeah, I think they're trying to go too hard, trying to get bat on ball. Some really ridiculous shots. For starting an innings.
Exactly.
In
conditions that weren't easy. If conditions are a bit tougher, a bit tougher, don't you dig your heels in?
Yeah.
Don't worry about the run rate for a little bit.
Give yourself a bit more time. We got bowled out in the
30th something over.
Yeah, so we've left, so many overs out in the ground.
Yep.
Even if you get, 4 and over off those last 15 overs, there's another 60 runs you got. You're looking at 210. Still might not be enough, but you give your bowlers a chance.
You got something. I mean, the first two dismissals yesterday, it was one balls that the guys could have left, just went too hard at it, and poor footwork too. Didn't get near the ball, and subsequently nicked them and were back in the sheds.
All right, men's T20.
Can I do the positives?
Yep.
There weren't any.
Yes.
0.
Yep.
They're just rubbish games. Who cares?
So, the subject of Shane Warne, I think, was the one to bring it up. Scrap international T20s. What are your thoughts?
Yep.
Happy with that.
I'm happy with the World Cup. You do World Cup every 4 years.
Now we've spoken about this. Is if you scrap international T20s, how can you then do a World Cup?
Well, because there's enough.
If you're going to be competing in a World Cup, you need to be playing games as an international side to prepare and all that sort of stuff.
Well, there's enough sort of franchise T20.
That's my point.
Going on.
I have absolutely no interest in seeing Australia play T20 games, to be truthful. Although when it does come to a World Cup, there is some interest.
Yeah.
However, I'd much prefer follow a WBBL or the IPL to a certain extent than having to watch our international players play games like they did in Pakistan or in the UAE against Pakistan. So I got to agree with Shane Warne there that for me, I don't think we need them.
No.
And that's that might be one of the things that then goes towards bolstering playing better at higher level test and one days.
Proper cricket.
Anyway, something positive to talk about. Let's move on to the women.
Yes.
They've just completed a 6-game series against Pakistan, 3 one-dayers and 3 T20s. Some big positives to come out of that, some high scores.
Yep.
We had Meg Lanning scoring 124 and Alyssa Healy 97 in one of the games. Our very own Ash Gardner, who uses our brand, King Sport.
In good form.
Had a pretty good series.
Yep.
scoring 62 off 37 balls in one game, taking 3 for 44. And in the first T20, she scored 63 off 37.
Hitting them okay.
She goes all right. She bombs them pretty good, doesn't she? We've got a T20 coming up.
Yep. Start this week, actually, at the end of the week in the Caribbean.
Got some details. So there's 2 tables. Australia are going to be in Group B. On the 10th, they play Pakistan. On the 11th, they play Ireland. On the 13th, they play New Zealand. And on the 17th, they play India. So those 2 games are their big ones.
Tough group, yeah.
Given that we beat Pakistan quite convincingly, and that was probably one of the negatives coming out of that series, is that did we need to be playing someone a little stronger leading into the World Cup as our preparation?
Possibly.
Was it a bit of a waste of time?
Maybe. I think part of that also too is also the championship that they've got.
Yep.
With the 1 day, so they needed to play Pakistan at some stage. So for the women's championship,
yep.
They probably had to play them. Although interestingly, Pakistan played South Africa in a warm-up game yesterday, and Pakistan won.
Yep.
South Africa's got a pretty good side. They got some good players in the South African side. So
I think Pakistan have probably come out of their experience of playing Australia in 6 games just prior. So Australia do have some warm-up matches. I think we had a warm-up match last night that was rained out.
Rained out, yeah.
So that's
not ideal. We're supposed to play England, yeah, but it got washed
ideal.
out.
We don't play South Africa, England, Sri Lanka, West Indies, and Bangladesh in the other pool. And then the top 2 from each table qualify for the semi-finals. So, look, we've basically got to make sure we beat New Zealand and or India.
Yep.
Because there's going to be some good cricket nations missing out on the semi-finals there.
We obviously hope we don't get a washout or something in one of those other games, which could be important.
Any predictions there? Stu, you know a lot about women's cricket, having a sister who's recently played for Australia and current Breakers player, Sarah Ailey. How are you seeing this World Cup?
Well, I know that obviously Australia would be aiming to make the final.
Yep.
And obviously the aim is to win it. They've got a good team. It's well balanced. The batting lineup's very strong. I mean, if you can have at least Perry batting at 6 or 7.
Yep.
And not batting a lot, then you've got a pretty good lineup. The bowling is good as well. Megan Shute is in good form. She'll be a key. And then some young spinning talent, which will be interesting over there. Obviously, they're playing in Guyana, which are wickets that are which is gonna turn. So Georgia Wareham from Victoria and Sophie Molyneux as well.
Yeah,
will be keys, and also obviously Ash Gardner as well.
Yeah, I think that was one of the positives to come out of the last series was the spinners did exceptionally well and claimed lots of wickets.
Plus, also handy to have Jess Johnson back as well from a knee injury, I think. So she's back, which will be handy too.
So, Steve, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Looking at the 2 tables here, who are your thoughts for table B to progress? That's the Australian table. It's obviously probably going to be out of 3, Australia, New Zealand, and India. Who's going to? Well, I suppose one of those 3 has to miss out.
Well, I'm predicting Australia, West Indies final. So
it's a big call.
West Indies are the defending champions, so
they are,
and Australia to win.
Okay, Stu.
If you're looking for, I think maybe the Kiwis might miss out from Group B.
India have gone from strength to strength.
They're getting better. I think the wickets that will be played on are going to be more familiar to the Indians.
Yep.
So that's probably going to hold them in good stead. And then I think you're looking at probably England and the West Indies out of the second group. It just depends on how the West Indies turn out, how how they play. They can be a little bit hot and cold. If they're on, they're very good. If they're not, then you could be made it work. But England's definitely going to be the strongest in that group. So yeah, and then wouldn't surprise me if it is an Australia West Indies final.
Right.
But Australia,
we're going to have to overcome. Is there potentially a bit of a hoodoo now with Australia versus India? I think that we went down last time to India
in the semi-final of the 50 over World Cup, we did. But on the recent Australia's toured India recently, and they beat them fairly comprehensively. So
yeah, I'm going Australia, England, and obviously we want Australia to win that one. So it's looking like a strong lineup. Now, some quick questions for you guys. Get some quick thoughts on some things that are going down lately at the moment. Are we looking forward to the new era of commentary away from Channel 9? What are your thoughts? We had a little bit of an insight to things yesterday. Fox?
Well, I was disappointed that Channel 7 didn't pay more to cover the one-day series to start with. So I think they've dropped the ball, to be honest. I tuned in on Fox and
were
they meant to be? Or is this a series they just choose?
No. So the all one days are exclusively on Fox.
Yep.
Whether that Channel 7 could have said no, we're happy to pay some more money and we'll show them as well.
Yep.
But it was on Fox. So
maybe just the timing of things at the moment. So.
Horse racing is on as well, isn't it? So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, obviously I love the Channel 9 coverage. I grew up with it. But now, obviously, those iconic commentators are sadly, some of us are no longer with us.
Yeah.
It might have got a bit stale and might have needed a bit of a fresh approach.
Yep.
So, could be good. Just some new eyes, some new ideas, and see how it goes.
Speaking of new ideas, we had Mike Hussey and the Lab. Is it a keeper, or do we snick that one off?
Oh, it's very Fox. Very Fox Sports. It's.
I was almost expecting Andrew Johns to pop up.
Look, if they don't overuse it, it's a good thing.
Yep.
Just bring it in, one step at a time. It's innovative. They're looking to be innovative and try something new.
I think
give it a go for a little bit.
To separate themselves from what Channel 9 did, they have to come up with some individual and new ideas.
He'll get better.
Yeah. It seemed a bit clunky yesterday. Obviously, first crack at the title there.
First time out. So.
But I think it's a great concept because I'm looking at it from a coaching point of view, and even Nick, I don't know if you're new to the game and you're having an ex-player talk you through some of the techniques and looking at the video evidence of what they're talking about. I think that is awesome for the kids, potentially, to be able to see the issues that some of the players are coming up with and to be able to talk through how you do it better. And for me, that's free coaching for the kids. So I reckon it's a keeper. And I think, it'll probably get better as well.
Yep.
A little bit off track. Did I forget something?
No.
I thought you were about to ask me a question, and then you
brought Nick into it, and then
that's okay. That's all right. No, because
okay.
I agree with you. Anything you can do to make the fundamentals more accessible to someone who might not understand them, I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course.
Now, Shane Warner's been very vocal on all things lately. His, I don't know whether you'd call it criticism or just his tag of Steve Waugh as being selfish, whatnot. Is he just selling books at the moment, or is he within his rights to be coming out and saying what he needs to say? What's the deal there?
Oh, everyone's got an opinion, and he's entitled to it. But look, he's selling books. It's not a new thing he's talking about. He got dropped one game. He thought he shouldn't have. Steve all said, "No, I think we'll go without you." Yep. They won that test. And they drew the series. So in my eyes, Steve Waugh's probably made the right decision. Warren was for that series. His average was terrible, so he wasn't in good form. To continually just give it to a guy who did everything for his country It annoys me. I'm a Steve Waugh fan. Grew up, I got all the Star Wars bats, and he was my favourite player.
The Simon Star Wars.
Yeah.
But, you know, it really annoys me. Just, you know, if you go and speak to him, go and have a conversation. Stop using the media just to push your side of things.
I'm not sure Steve Waugh would want to have a conversation with
he was asked the other day, and he just like, okay,
Not
he's
blessed.
entitled to his opinion. I don't really care.
I thought he handled that really well because like he doesn't really need to go there. He doesn't need to.
I don't think Steve's is losing any sleep over it.
Yeah.
Warney's doing it to sell some books. I mean, yeah, it's not a new comment. He said it before. It's been in books before. Everybody knows that they don't really get on, and that's okay. Move on.
For me, it's disappointing because you have this.
It was 20 years ago.
Yeah, but you have this image of Australian cricket in that era just being so amazing and dominant, and they, you know, the dressing room after these test wins and stuff like that. You just imagine them being so close. Now to hear that. You know, they're almost knifing each other. Well, one in particular.
One is only one.
Yeah, it's really disappointing because it's almost shattering that image of how good it was.
Oh, I think it was probably still good. You don't have to be best mates with everybody that you play with. I mean, hopefully Shane respects Steve's career because I'm sure Steve.
I think he
respects
does.
Shane.
I think he does.
Personally you don't get on, and that's fine. You just move on.
Yep. All right, India Test Series. It was going to be a huge one. It's probably disappointing that we're not going to be full strength, but we've got to move on with it and hopefully try and win some games. How do you see this series playing out?
I'm still gonna back us in. I'll go 2-1. I'll go 2-1. I'll go 2-1 to Australia. I'm gonna go Aaron Finch. Aaron Finch will have a big season. He'll be our leading batsman, and then Pat Cummins. I thought Pat Cummins played really well yesterday to be a best bowler. But then you're also looking at Gary. He's not the GOAT for no reason, so he's in good form. He'll have a big summer too.
I wonder whether the Indian players renowned for batting against spin will negate line.
Yeah, possibly, but I think Gary's still got the skills to.
What he has in Australia is bounce.
Yeah.
Which you don't get in the subcontinent.
Yeah.
Steve, how do you see the series going?
The best I can hope for is a drawn series. I can't see us dominating at all. Batsman, good question.
Yeah,
good question. I don't know. Finch maybe. I don't know. Bowler is my man Hoff, Josh Hazlewood. He's had a good spell in the paddock, and he's ready to rip and tear.
Did he look a bit short of a run yesterday, or?
Oh yeah, but I mean he's
got a few games to get himself to peak performance.
Bit of match practice, and then rip it right into the first test.
The thing with Hoff is, I think he's one of those ideal partnership style bowlers. Not necessarily going to be the guy like Stark or Cummins did against England last year. I think the key to some of their success was having a guy like Hoff bowling at the other end. I think he sort of tends to fly under the radar a bit. His importance in that team is paramount. But for me, the guys that will pick up the wickets will probably be still Stark and Cummins with the bounce and pace. Indians renowned to struggle a little bit with that. Providing they get their lengths right, they can't be too full to the Indians. And batting-wise, I'm going to go a real lefty here. I want Renshaw back in the team. And I think if he is back in the team, he'll probably be our best performed player. What are your thoughts?
Hopefully.
You think
when you say best performer, hopefully it's a big sum. He gets a couple of hundreds.
Yeah, well, I think, I can't understand why we invested in him, going back a year or two ago. And then all of a sudden he's been sort of discarded. And obviously after the last series, there's room in the team for a guy that can occupy the crease. I think it's time to bring back. His shield numbers are pretty good.
Yep, 89.
As are a few other players. But I think he needs to be in there. And I think he'll do well. Right, we spoke about this a little bit earlier on. do we want to move away from pathway selections, or do we now need to definitely start picking on the hard slog, runs on the board?
Oh, I think like Steve said, I think it's probably needs to be a combination of both. I mean, the pathways, it's obviously is a good program. You need to identify talent early and hopefully, nurture that elite talent. But then also, some people get better at their games, get better at different stages. And so for guys, scoring runs outside of the program or taking wickets outside of the program, you got to make sure that you look at them and are happy to pick them. I mean, Trent Copeland's probably a good example of that. I don't think he was in any sort of pathways programs. He was from Bathurst. He was playing. He was a hockey player. He came to Sydney. He was a wicketkeeper for you to start with, and then he started bowling. And he, now he's taking his 300th first class wicket for New South Wales. So if you don't look outside of it, you miss someone like that.
Yeah, it's all balance.
Yep. Well, I asked the question purely because at the moment I'm not sure New South Wales in the Sheffield Shield are fielding their strongest team. Do you think so? Is it their strongest team now?
Probably not. There's probably a couple of batsmen that are missing out.
So are we prepared to invest in the future if it means we're sort of losing and not winning the games now? I'd rather my team be thinking about now than dominating in 2 or 3 years' time.
Well, we haven't won the Shield for a while, have we? Really, we haven't won
4 or 5 seasons.
Is it like? I think I heard. I might have even heard Trent say this. It's like we've not won a game for like 7. We haven't won. We've lost 7 Shield games in a row or something like that. So it's probably not working. Who would you have? Who do you think should be in there instead?
I've mentioned it before. Someone like. Go back then to the next level down, grade cricket, who's been scoring the most runs?
Yeah.
There's guys like Daniel Solway from Bankstown as an example, and there's a few others like him.
Guy from Parramatta, Nick Burtis.
Nick Burtis has been scoring heavily.
He's got they've given him a contract, which is good. Maybe you need to put him in.
I just think, whoever's putting their hand up and scoring runs, the selection should be based on that. That's what we want our players to be proving to us, that they can score runs and then given the opportunity to do so at the next level. Steve, you're pretty heavily involved in the grade scene. Do you agree with that? Or?
Well, for me, it comes back to the way our system is set up. Now, second 11 is now Futures League. It should be second 11, and it doesn't matter what age you are, the second best 11 are playing that competition, and that's where you prepare yourself to go into Shield cricket.
Yep.
Not, he looks good, we're going to give him a Shield game. It's not how it works. No. Because if you want to get prepared, do it in second 11, you get runs on the board there, take wickets, then you get your crack at wearing the baggy blue.
Because again, that goes back to a point we made before about who they're picking and having decent batsmen and what they're averaging. Because you've got to have, if you have a proper second 11 competition, you could get an 18-year-old kid who's been in the Pathways program who might be a good cricketer. He then goes into the second 11. He's playing against a guy that's been around for a long time. He might be a 28-year-old bowler, knows what he's doing. He may not quite get the crack to go into the or he may, if he plays in a decent second 11 competition, he may then go into playing in first class cricket and then have a Test career after that. Mm-hmm. A lot of these guys are now in because it's a Futures League program. These guys at sort of 26, 27, 28, they think, well, I haven't made it. There's no point playing.
Yep.
So they all drop out, and then you lose all that experience, all that knowledge, all that experience. You need that in the grade competition, in a proper second 11 competition, in a first class competition to then get your better international cricketers.
Okay. Away from cricket, I was going to talk about Sean Marsh's injury. Can't really consider it an injury. I don't think it's cricket related, but I think we'll skip that one.
He's had enough trouble, poor Sean. Yeah.
I can't believe they went public with it. Nick you know what we're talking
I
about?
have no idea what you're talking about.
Good.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Anyway,
Look that one up later.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's go away from cricket just for a little bit. State of origin, rugby league. Your man Freddie Fittler wants an away kit. Can we see our New South Wales players playing in an away kit?
Oh, look, Freddie's
He's out there.
Freddie's out there.
He's out
Rooster legend. They won the comp this year. If anyone didn't know, well done to them. But yeah, I don't know. I love seeing New South Wales run out in the sky blue. Again, is it some marketing tools coming in and marketing tools. You can take that whatever way you like.
Excuse the pun.
Yeah, trying to sell more jerseys. I don't know. It's a good-looking jersey, but maybe just keep it as a training jersey. And I don't know. I'm a bit old school with
Stick with tradition.
Bit old school with my uniforms.
put it this way: has Queensland come up with one? No. So what does that tell you? I know they changed the design slightly sometimes, but they're not. I mean, they wear maroon. It's usually got maroon in it. They're not changing it. They're not going to run out. They're not going to run out pink in Perth, are they? They're going to change it.
In saying that, we are the Blues.
True, but we've always been that sky blue.
It's not like we're bringing
like
colour. Pink into it or magenta or something.
No, it's not. It's not a soccer away kit.
Just reversing the Blues, right?
Possibly, but still.
Yeah.
I just looked up Sean Marsh's injury, and man, that just, as funny as that is, I guess it's funny, but it's really not funny, man. That would hurt so bad.
Just even sitting down.
Just sitting around. That's terrible.
Is there an image of it?
Hope not.
No, I'm not gonna look that far for that.
No, don't.
Google abscess. No, better not.
No, I'll pass on that, man.
Let's move on. Winx. Obviously, it's horse racing season at the moment. Can we now say that Winx is the greatest horse of all time?
No. I don't think. I'm not a horse racing aficionado, but I'm not sure that she won a lot of races, 29 in a row, whatever it is. But I'm not sure that she's the greatest racehorse of all time.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a great record. It's a really good record.
Yep.
But then you got the Far Lap, Black Caviar. Yeah,
it's hard to judge. I
This
suppose you need to be a racing.
Maccabi Diva.
You need
different lengths, distances.
Competition.
It's
okay. To really throw a wobbly one out there, is this horse's record now? Is it up there, like with Bradman statistics?
No one.
Could it be comparable?
No one. I don't think no one could be as good as Bradman. You don't average 99.94 in the era that he did.
So no one will do that.
No.
But will there ever be a horse that comes and does what Winx has done? So is that where it's comparable?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Winx sort of has come pretty close off the back of Black Caviar, so you've had a couple of horses do it, similar sort of things, fairly close together. So, I don't know.
Just so I'm clear, are we comparing what's potentially the greatest racehorse of all time to one of the greatest Australian cricketers of all time? Is that what's happening here?
correct.
Okay, cool. Cool.
They have to run.
Yep.
One runs to win, the other one scores runs to win.
Well, going off stats, Winx would have to be almost twice as good as any other horse if you're going to compare Bradman to
good point.
stat-wise, because 99.94 and I don't know, is it who's second in the?
Yep.
Is it Coley's close? I think.
Yep.
And he's what, mid-50s or?
Yeah.
So you're probably looking at, that sort of distance between Winx and number 2.
I suppose the other thing that comes into it, is Winx a better bowler than Bradman?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Better captain, better bloke.
I didn't see Bradman bowl.
No. Yeah, didn't bowl. He didn't
Two
bowl.
test wickets, Winx has none. So I suppose that
probably not then.
There's the difference. All right. Let's move on from that because that was ridiculous.
I'll say moving on into topic 4, we're coming up on about an hour already.
Really?
Yeah,
God, we can ramble on.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, that's no particular rush, although a little bit of a rush, I guess. Might want to move through the remainder of your topics a little swiftlier than you might have planned.
Okay, Kingsgrove Sports Centre T20 Cup has started. This is the New South Wales Premier Cricket T20 competition, run over, I guess you would say, 4 weekends.
Yep.
In that there's 3 rounds or 3 weekend rounds where each club, and there are 24 clubs competing, get the opportunity to host one double header, and on the other weeks they play right. So there's basically 4 games that they play before they move on into preliminaries and semis and stuff like that. There are 2 conferences, a Sydney Sixers conference and a Sydney Thunder conference. It is totally sponsored by Kingsgrove Sports Centre, and the prize money is $18,000 to the winner, and they will also get the opportunity to represent the New South Wales Premier competition in a national competition in Adelaide towards the end of the season. Now, yesterday was the first round, so some teams obviously had their opportunity to host their double header. So some teams have played 2, others have played 1. Some interesting results to come out of it, and happily for us at Kingsgrove Sports Centre, some of our sponsored players have had some good days. One of the big games was usually strong Manly side taking on a Sutherland team comprising of no less of Ben Dwarshus, Steve Smith and Shane Watson. Not surprisingly there, Sutherland were victorious, 6 for 189 over Manly, 4 for 188. Steve Smith scoring 40, Shane Watson 33. Some of the other performances to take note of: Dave Warner playing for Randwick Petersham in their win over Mossman, scored 63. Going back to that Manly game, Chris Green, sponsored by Kingsgrove, scored 72 not out. His form is interesting to note, given that there's a Big Bash season coming up and he plays for the Sydney Thunder. He also took 2 for 16. Ackland Beadle, another one of our Kingsport players at Manly, scored 46. So they didn't come away with a win, but our boys there did very well. I mentioned Dave Warner, 63 for Randwick Petersham. A young fella by the name, is it Ryan Felsh?
Yep.
Are you just yapping?
That's what he's going with.
We'll go with that.
Sorry, I've switched off.
Now, Sydney are the reigning premiers in this competition from last year, the Tigers. They had a very dominant win, 6 for 217, and he scored 127 in that T20 game. That is
did him well.
Pretty huge.
Did him well.
And one of our sponsored boys,
Ben Menenti.
Ben Menenti, 3 for 20, taking some good wickets there. Nick Stapleton for St. George scoring 52 in their win over Greater Illawarra. He also uses King Sports, so we're plugging them heavily here. In some of the other games, we had Chris Green also scoring 61 in his second game for Manly there. For him. So very good weekend, showing some good form. Ed Cowan playing for Sydney University, still in good nick with the bat, 69 in their win over the Australian Capital Territory. Randwick Petersham in their second game, Dave Warner 54, so he's in good nick. He scored 157 the previous 2 Saturdays ago against Western Suburbs.
That was in 2 knocks, wasn't it?
Just had to go off for a bit.
Okay, well, play on.
What?
And Sydney capping off a very dominant first 2 rounds for themselves. A very strong win against your side, Eastern Suburbs.
And that's that wrap up. Next topic.
Ben Menenti, 56 with the bat.
With the bat.
Had a good weekend.
Well.
So in the Sydney Thunder Conference, 3 out of the 4 teams who had double headers had wins: Sydney University, Campbelltown, Camberden, and Bankstown. Whilst in the Sydney Sixers Conference, only 1 out of the 2 teams, Sydney, who were last year's winners, had the 2 wins. So that means that's pretty open. Open there. So the teams that will be hosting 2 games next week will be looking to cash in on that.
Take advantage of home field.
Do you know when the next round of the T20 games are? I think it's...
it is here on the 25th, I believe, of November.
Okay, so you can head to the New South Wales Premier Cricket website for the draw there and to see who's playing. It's good entertainment.
Yep.
And like I said, if you go to some of the games, you'll see 2 games in the one day.
You can check it out on My Cricket too if you
Yeah, and also
you're running that app.
our own Kingsgrove Sports Centre socials will be keeping you up to date with what's happening in the upcoming future. All right, lastly, it's the race that stops the cricket shop.
Yep.
Obviously, the Melbourne Cup is being run tomorrow, the biggest race in the Australian racing calendar.
It'll be today when this podcast comes out.
Well, exactly. Yes, okay.
It'll be day of when the podcast comes out.
So, have we got any picks? It's a tough one. It's always a tough one to pick. It's a bit of a gamble, to be truthful.
Very
funny.
Zinger.
Steve?
No.
You got nothing?
No.
You're giving us nothing?
No, I like to wait. Actually, I do have a tip, but I haven't decided because today's the race, and I just like to,
You got to throw something up there because when we look at the history of this, one of us has to be the winner.
Far lap? No.
Is it money? I'm going to go with.
Good question. I haven't actually.
You look it up, Steve. Right now. I'm going to go with Young Star.
Yep.
For no apparent reason except it's trained by I'm sure it's trained by the trainer of Winx.
Oh, okay.
And I heard that Winx was going to have a chat, just tell it what to do, how to run, how to win. So I'll just back Young Star.
I'm going with Marmello.
Right.
And that's not because it rhymes with caramello, but I like the fact that this horse is being ridden by Hugh Bowman, who's obviously been very successful on board the Winx train. So that's got to count for something. But I like the numbers here. $18 for the win. If you're going to have a flutter, you want a decent
you want to pay out. You want to pay out, yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm going with. So basically, I've just put the mockers on that horse, and there's no chance of it winning now.
Yeah, look, I've just done my form, and I like number 11, Yucatan.
It's the favourite.
His Herbert Power handicap was the best trial I've ever seen.
Yep.
Worked wide well, eased down to a walk, but no reason to doubt him at 3,200 metres. So,
right, sounds good, Steve. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Yet to race beyond 2002 2400. So that's a bit of
surely can't be happy with the barrier it's drawn there.
Well, look,
23. It's out wide. It is out wide, but
it's in the car park. But if he's good enough, it'll get the job done.
He'll find the track.
Are you reading someone's article? Are we going to have to credit someone for this?
No. Number 11, Yucatan. Throw your house on it.
Okay,
but gamble responsibly.
Yes, true.
Gamble responsibly.
There you have it. Kingsgrove Sports Centre Podcast 4. Done and dusted. Let's not talk anymore. Stewie, you want to tell the punters... Oh, actually, Nick, you're probably going to be better off doing this.
It seems like I've been assigned the honor of reminding everybody where they can reach us. Well, look, we really appreciate you listening or watching the podcast on YouTube, joining us here. We want to hear from you. If you've got opinions on the Cricket Australia review or anything that these guys have talked about or anything they didn't talk about and you'd rather them talk about, reach out to us, please. We're on all the social medias on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Facebook at Kingsgrove Sports Centre. Instagram at Kingsgrove Sports, Twitter at Kingsgrove Sport with no S. Obviously, you can comment in the YouTube comments here. Anywhere you reach us, use the hashtag KSC Podcast so you know that we know you're trying to get our attention. But join us here on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, or at kscpodcast.com. We're all over the place.
But don't be a keyboard warrior because it will hurt our feelings.
Yeah, Steve's vocally not impressed with keyboard warriors.
Actually, it won't hurt his feelings. It'll just fire him up.
could get some more traction. It's good.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Catch you next time.